Good morning.
Good morning, Father.
Today's gospel reading is basically a continuation of Jesus' sermon on the plain. And we pick up where we left off last week. And last week, Jesus talked about loving your enemies and not just the people who love us back. And that's probably the most challenging teaching of Jesus. Today, we look at Jesus, who is, again, a wisdom teacher. And he wants to give us practical advice. And we have a series of wisdom teachings, or statements, or questions that are loosely connected to one another. There's one statement of wisdom saying, and then another, and then another, and then another. And each could be its own homily. We could talk today about blind guides, or ask ourselves a question: who am I following in my life? Or we could talk about bearing good fruits in our lives, or about what it means to be a student in the school of Jesus. Now, most likely, Jesus said those sayings on different occasions, and then Matthew and Luke put them together into one sermon. Today I want to focus on one saying and one lesson. And this particular saying of Jesus is unique to him. And nothing similar has ever been said before by anyone, or at least there is no record of anyone saying it like this. Jesus said, "Why do you notice the splinter in your brother's eye, but do not perceive the wooden beam in your own? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me remove the splinter in your eye,' when you do not even notice the wooden beam in your own eye? You hypocrites, remove the wooden beam from your eye first, then you will see clearly to remove the splinter in your brother's eye." Now, being a son of a carpenter and having learned carpentry from his father, Jesus uses here images that would be very familiar to him. He talks about splinters and wooden beams or logs. Now, fundamentally, what Jesus is trying to say is this: before you criticize others, first look at your own self. Now, I would argue that it's easier to look at others. It's much more challenging to look at your own self, at your own shortcomings and imperfections. I think that that would be a fair statement, don't you think? Now, the late Father Gerhard Löffnig, a renowned German biblical scholar, in his book, the most important words of Jesus, says that this saying of Jesus that we just read is fundamentally about self-examination. And that, in Jesus' time, would have been a common topic in Greek philosophy, self-examination. It was Socrates, probably, who said, unexamined life is not worth living. Now, for me, what Jesus is saying here is basically this, to put it in a different way. Be honest with yourself. That's what self-examination is all about. Be honest with yourself. But also, Jesus reminds us that unless I am honest with myself, I won't be able to be genuinely honest with others. Now, we hardly ever like when people tell us to look at ourselves. Yet, you probably would agree, knowing yourself in truth, and any spiritual director or counselor would tell you this, knowing yourself in truth is more important than anything else. It is the greatest gift I can give to myself and I can give to others. Being honest with myself. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses. Knowing the beams in your own eye. Being honest with ourselves helps us to grow as human beings, helps us to change and become what God created us to be. And this is, of course, a lifelong journey. I think we all need moments of honesty from time to time. We need them as individuals, as couples, as families, as friends, co-workers, as a society. We need moments of honesty from time to time. And honesty is necessary for growth. You see, the truth is that we all have had, including myself, splinters and beams in our lives. And we all have ability and power to remove them. And the beam can be anger, judgment, pride, arrogance, self-interest, a wounded ego, and the list could go on and on and on. And if we are willing to recognize the beam, admit that the beam exists, remove the beam, we will find wisdom to remove the splinter from the eye of another. So, as we approach Lent in just 3 days, Jesus invites us, you and me, to enter into this season of renewal and to try to practice being honest with yourself.
Don't forget to follow St. Patrick's on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube. And please join us for any of our live stream masses this weekend. Details are below in the description. God bless you.
Like burning incense, O Lord, let
let my prayer rise up to you. Like burning incense, oh Lord, let my prayer rise up to